Now, Sports Talk with Broads. Here's Hunter Brody.
I did not expect to talk Phillies baseball today, but I sure am happy because I really like the Zack Wheeler contract. It makes so much sense to me. This team struggled insanely with that starting rotation, and the Phillies go out and make it better. This is just step one. Nobody's saying this is the only move that the Phillies are going to make all offseason long when it comes to pitching. No, this is a great first step. I understand that he's not Gerrit Cole, and I know he's not Strasburg, but this is still a really solid pitcher who will help out this organization tremendously. Over the last 2 years, 60 starts, a 3.65 ERA. And according to Corey Seidman, in the last 2 seasons as well, a 14-3 record with a 2.26 ERA after the All-Star break. So he does do really well after the All-Star break. If he can find a way to figure out how to perform like that consistently, now we're talking. And he had a ton of injuries earlier in his career. He's 29 years old, but putting back-to-back seasons together is very important after the brutal injuries that occurred. So I'm a fan of this. I can't even comprehend how there are so many Phillies fans upset with the contract and how much he's getting paid. Listen, first off, you got to realize when you pay someone out of free agency, you're going to overpay. Second, it's really not that much of an overpay. This is what the market is. Every single year, the league makes more money and players get paid more money. This is in any sport. So money is going to continue to go up. You can't compare contracts to people who has a contract from 6 years ago. I mean, this is just what it is. This is what it takes to go out and get a free agent pitcher. This is what happens when you don't draft well. But this is what the Phillies needed to do, and they did that. The same people who are disgusted with the length and terms of the contract, which blows my mind, but the same people who are pissed off about that are the same fans who was crucifying the front office because the starting rotation was so poor last season. Well, this is them making it better, and it absolutely makes it better. I was always in the mindset of I would rather go out and get a Wheeler, a Bumgarner, and another pitcher. I stated Cole Hamels in my tweet before Cole Hamels ended up actually signing with the Braves for 1 year, $18 million, and we will get to that. But I would have rather gotten a Wheeler, a Mad Bum, and a Cole Hamels, say. That's what I tweeted out. So those three over one Gerrit Cole. And that's not to say that Gerrit Cole is not insanely important. He really is. But the difference is the Phillies need 3 starting pitchers, okay? So that's a problem. The Phillies need to literally rebuild the entire starting rotation. I need more bodies than just one dominant pitcher. To me, if it was Gerrit Cole and Aaron Nola, and then you have 3 guys that can't play, well, I mean, what does that really do compared to at least having 5 MLB starters and above average starters as well? They're not just 3 average guys. I would say that there are 3 above average guys. So there are other options out there to add to this. A Madison Bumgarner is one. You can look at, say, Dallas Keuchel, because what happened with the Atlanta Braves last year, he went there on that 1-year deal. We all remember how upset we were. Well, he's still in the mix. What are the Phillies going to do? How are they going to attack this? There will be more moves made. I guarantee it. There's also conversations about how the Phillies are still in on Strasburg. Now, they are still involved, but it looks like he will resign in Washington. And I don't expect the Phillies to get Cole or Strasburg at this point. I think they made the mindset of, okay, there are so many teams in the mix. This isn't the same as last season when it comes to who's involved. Last year when it came to Bryce Harper and Manny Machado, there were only a couple teams involved. It was a dream scenario for the Phillies. But this season, there are so many big squads and big markets heavily invested that, okay, they see Zack Wheeler here, they can't let him go. They can't just go all in on those top dogs, because if they don't get them, based off of how much power some of these bigger franchises have, well, then you're really screwed. So you go out and you get a Zack Wheeler, and from there you can adjust. And to me, that's the right mindset to have. I think they did a great job with it. And let's see what they do moving forward. Mets fans are not happy. They understand what type of talent he has when he can play to the best of his ability. How about this stat? Zack Wheeler has thrown 97 miles per hour or faster 1,111 times in the last 2 years. Phillies starting pitching as a whole, 40. 40! The Phillies finally got someone who can throw the ball hard. That's mind-blowing. That's laughable. Really, I mean, that's just so disturbing to even think about. One guy in the last 2 years has thrown over 97 miles per hour over 1,000 times, and the Phillies pitching staff as a whole, 40? It makes no sense to me to be disappointed with this signing. It's not the end. It's just the beginning of the offseason. It's a great start. It's a great addition. It helps this team, without a doubt, in a position and in a spot where this team needs the most help, to an aggressive level, to an obnoxious level. They needed to add talent in that starting rotation, and they just grabbed someone who has great potential. To me, it's a no-brainer, really. So going to Cole Hamels, 1 year, 18 mil. I would have liked him for the back half of the rotation, but I'm not crying about it. If you remember last year, he came to Philly and he got abused early on. He got yanked early. It just stinks to see him go to a team like the Atlanta Braves. He might have a year or so left in him, but I'm not going to cry about a Cole Hamels. I'm not. It stings. I remember what he did here. It was a phenomenal time when he spent his season here, and it did seem as if there was a connection. All offseason long, it seemed like there was a connection. Let's bring Cole Hamels back. Let's get him back in Citizens Bank Park. So it was shocking to see him go to a rival like the Braves. It looked like the Phillies didn't want to match that and go to the $20 million mark for one season. I don't blame them. If that was the difference in them getting someone else that can help out this rotation staff, then so be it. I'm okay with skipping out on Cole Hamels. Don't get too tied to the connection of the name. I know it would have been a great story, but in terms of this Phillies team moving forward here, I don't want a guy who's in his mid-30s. I know it's just 1 year, and I wouldn't have been disgusted by it or anything, but I'm not going to cry over it either. I'd rather attack that market that we're looking for. Zack Wheeler, 29 years old, 5-year deal. It's fantastic to me. He's got the stuff. I really like it. And I'm not trying to sell it to the fans saying this guy's going to absolutely change the Phillies and take him to the World Series. Like, that's not the right mindset to have with this signing. This is a guy who adds to the rotation. He is a legit MLB starter, right? So that's a step in the right direction just off that. It's a legit MLB starter. We have not been throwing MLB players on the bump. We've been rotating AAA guys and bullpen guys to try and get some sort of starts out of them. Well, that's not the right way to do it. So step one, get a guy who can at least play in the MLB. Okay, I think we got that. And he can be a guy right behind Aaron Nola. It comes down to what do they add next? What is their next move? If they do get a Madison Bumgarner, which I know is a very controversial name, but I am still absolutely on board with that based off of the alternative. So I'm just saying, if the Phillies do go out and get a Madison Bumgarner, and you have an Aaron Nola, a Zack Wheeler, a Madison Bumgarner, Jake Arrieta, Zach Eflin rotation, do you understand the difference? Do you really see how one is so much better than the other? And when I say the other, I'm talking about last year's rotation. Vince Velasquez, Nick Pivetta, Jared Eichhoff. And you still have Spencer Howard in the mix to eventually get caught up this season at some point. I'm super pumped about Joe Girardi, too. I mean, it's just something that gets flown under the radar because it's not baseball season yet, but there's going to be such a different vibe because of Joe Girardi. He's a very experienced guy who understands the sport of baseball, who lost that managerial side to him, went inside the booth and then had that itch to get back. Sometimes when you lose something, and he lost the managerial side of him, when you get it back, you appreciate it so much more, and you do things differently that can really help you succeed because maybe before you didn't realize how much it meant to you. It can totally change his mindset for the better, because there were times in his career where things didn't go as smooth as he probably wanted it to. The Phillies are not done. They will continue. They absolutely will continue. This is just getting their feet wet. And I think it was great to not just sell out completely on the top two dogs, because then you put yourself in a horrendous position if it doesn't work as planned. Zack Wheeler, it's a great option. He's not at the top of the free agency list, but he's right underneath of that, and he can really help this ball club. He can put up some great innings. He can give you some good numbers. Do guys hit home runs off him? Sure. Name a pitcher that doesn't allow homers. I can throw out Justin Verlander, sure let up a lot of dingers last year, and look what happened. I mean, he sure had a successful season at the end of the day. That's just the nature of where baseball is going and the balls being juiced and whatnot. But yeah, I mean, he's going to allow homers. That's baseball. But to be upset about it, I don't understand how you can be upset about it. It's going to help the team. It's adding talent to a position that needed it so much. And last thing I want to throw here at you guys is the possibility of Didi Gregorius. Now we're talking. And him and Joe Girardi have ties when they were back at New York together. And it looks like the Phillies might be trying to make some moves. Now, the Phillies let go of Michael Franco and Cesar Hernandez. Both really solid moves by the front office. Cesar is he's an average player in this league. He can get you hits. You know, he hit around 280 last season. He's not a horrendous player. But he doesn't have that it factor either. Franco, it was totally time to move on from him. But I like the direction where this team is going in. And just think about it. John Middleton tells us all the time he wants to win. He is willing to do whatever it takes to get that trophy back in Philadelphia. And guess what? He's backing up his words. We all question Matt Klentak and McPhail and John Middleton's decision with those two because it's just very odd. It's very weird. He gave them the extension under the radar and things really fell apart. That part of John Middleton confuses me. But when it comes to spending money and all of that, he's all in. I mean, when he tells you he will do anything to win, he is going out there and doing anything to win. He just signed someone for $118 million, and guess what? He's out looking for the next pitcher. He's out looking for the next guys. He's going to talk about Didi Gregorius. There are so many opportunities for him to go out and spend so much cash to make this roster better. So when it comes to him spending money, I believe in him. I know he will do it. And how about this? The Chicago White Sox offered more money. More money! Now, there's a report going out there about Zack Wheeler's wife being from New Jersey, so she wants to stay local, and that totally makes sense. But I think it has to do with talent as well, knowing the Phillies are probably in a better position than the Chicago White Sox. Now, I think the White Sox are moving forward, but, you know, it's not where the Phillies are at right now. And I just find it funny that he turned down more money to come play here in Philadelphia. Got a sting for the Mets, too, right? I mean, the Mets are losing one of their guys. In-division rival. The Phillies just pick people from their own division. Get Bryce Harper from the Nats. Now you're getting Zack Wheeler from the Mets. I love it. I truly do love it. So let me know your thoughts down below. I don't see how this is a bad thing at all. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. I will see you next time.